Once again, welcome to the C Network. I'm your host, Bol Mayen, and this is a show where we sit down with people from African backgrounds and listen to their stories and journeys and learn from them. And today we've got Majok Ngong, who's going to do that for us today. So welcome. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm great, brother. Long day, but I'm great.
I'm glad. I'm glad for that you made it. Just like always, I wanted to start off with where you were born.
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm very lucky now. People assume that I'm Australian, but, my journey, I guess, started back in South Sudan, a small village called Rock. That's where I was born. And then migrated from South Sudan to North Sudan. Then eventually my family found our way from North Sudan all the way to Egypt. Then my chapter of being Australian started in particular February 17, 2005, when we arrived at Melbourne Airport. Yeah, so it's been a great journey so far.
I love that. I want to talk a little bit more about Iraq. That's where you were born. I don't know anything about it.
Iraq, yeah.
Let's talk about a little bit about that. And how old were you when you left to go to North Sudan?
Yeah, so I would have been. Yeah, so Iraq is sort of like a small village within. Obviously, South Sudan being a landlocked, we've got River Nile that run through there, so we've got a nice little pond there. But yeah, as I recall, my lifestyle in South Sudan was quite simple. It was just about making sure you wake up every day and go look for something to eat, or support your dad or your mom to make sure that you guys put a food in table. I mean, to provide food for your sibling. So it was quite interesting, good, but then also at the same time full of unease time. Obviously,
Sure.
At the time, the country was going through a lot of civil war, so which has made the sleeping every night unsure. Whether you're gonna sleep throughout the night or you're gonna probably have to get up and pack and run for your life with your family. So yeah, it was unpredictable at the time.
Yeah.
Quite unpredictable.
And then you moved up to North Sudan. How old were you then?
Yeah, so I think I would have been, for my recollection, I would have been probably around 9. Obviously, we didn't move by choice. So obviously, like I mentioned it earlier, there were quite a lot of the civil war sort of got really, really bad, where we had no choice but to move to North Sudan. So when I moved to North, I think I would have been 9. And obviously along the way, I lost my dad there, and probably one of those times where you're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? But I had a brave my mom. She's a brave woman. She's a super woman who kept us all together and protected us all the way and pushed on through with the journey. And couple of years later, we're at North Sudan. Yeah.
And when you guys got to North Sudan, and sorry for your loss as well, did you have a big family as well?
No, so at North Sudan as well, it was like migrating to a different country at the same time, even though it was in the same country. Got to remember at the time, we were still living in a little hut, say.
How many of you guys?
Say there was me, my mom, my other 2 siblings, and then obviously my dad. And then there was another handful of community members as well at the same times. So I guess it was shock, lifestyle. It was completely different. So we had to readjust, in terms of like learn how to speak Arabic, because mainly there north they speak purely Arabic, and me and my family came just speaking Dinka, which is our mother tongue. So we kind of had to make some adjustment, and which has made it quite a little bit, I guess, harder to adjust. Mom had to decide whether she stay at home. But if she stayed at home, then we weren't going to get anything to eat. We won't be able to have anything to eat. So she had to sacrifice herself to go and work and become a maid for other people, rich people, and while I protected and stayed at home with my sibling.
Were you the oldest?
Yeah, I'm the oldest, yeah. Too old. You can tell from my forehead, brother. It's got drifting backward.
That's amazing. How long was that whole experience for?
I think there's not a limit. So obviously we got to North Sudan 2002.
Okay. 3 years.
Yeah, mom applied for asylum to migrate to Egypt, and then for some reason they knocked us back. And then we applied again. We got just 2004, early 2004. We got accepted, and then we went to Egypt. That's when actually the lifestyle was much better there compared to North Sudan, because in Egypt we already had an existing relative there that were able to take us in, and most importantly, like make our lifestyle or our journey a lot easier compared to North Sudan.
Yeah. As tough as that journey was, what do you reckon was something that was so valuable that you learned throughout that journey?
I think it's family is probably the main value that it teaches you, and
Being
that is
close to
family. Yeah,
family.
it brings you closer, but then I think it teaches you as well the value of, you know, being able to value little things. I'm a guy that material doesn't justify my life nowadays, you know, and that's all thank God, because from the journey I went through, like, you know, being able to just have a piece of bread on the table was the world to us, you know.
Yeah.
That was something we all needed, like, but like, yeah, it taught me like to appreciate your family, and make sure, like, you know, tomorrow is not promised, and most importantly, always say thank you and be grateful. Gratitude, you know, that's mainly a lot of things. Yeah.
How was it being the man of the house when you got to Egypt at such a young age and having to look after your younger siblings?
Egypt as well had another twist as well. So when I got to Egypt, we were staying at a house, and then we had to split up. I had to go and stay with my auntie, and my family had to stay there. So it was such a I reckon probably one of the heartbroken, or probably the first time I felt so heartbroken, because I love my family so much. I wanted just to be with them, but then because I was such a young, I didn't understood what was the meaning behind it. I felt like my mom was just want to get rid of me, you know.
Yeah. Do you understand now?
Yeah.
What
But
was
then
the reason?
obviously once I got here, then now I understand. So being able to say, oh, because we didn't have a lot of space. Either I go and stay with my cousins, or we all get kicked out. My family get kicked out. And so my first couple of days at my auntie house, I was just crying nonstop, crying and crying and crying. But then also when I got there, couple of weeks later, when I actually got my act together, you know, it taught me a lot of value as well. You know, start looking after my cousins, you know, cleaning their house, you know, doing the things that, you know, if I was with my moms and thing, I wouldn't be able to do, especially, you know, being the eldest. I would have just said, nah, I'm the oldest, you know, I don't need to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But like I thought that little sacrifice sort of helped really well.
That's amazing. And how far were you guys apart, and how often were you seeing your family?
It's amazing. We were still in the same. So I think they were living in I think Ain Shemish, and I was living in another area called I think Abbasia. So it was just the tram metro. But then you gotta remember, you know, and also there was still a barrier again. The other barrier that came in place is that when I moved from north, picked up a little bit of Arabic, of Northern Sudan Arabic, and then when I went to Egypt, absolutely different dialogue of Arabic. So
Yeah.
and Egypt probably, you know, I love my Egyptian, and I love not everyone, but like it was quite a hostile environment as well for, you know, for a black fellow like us. Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to go on a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to talk more about how Egypt was like for Majok. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. If you just joined, I'm your host, Bol Mayen, and this is the C Network, and I'm here with Majok, and he's talking about his journey from South Sudan all the way down to Australia. We're just going to get into how it was like in Egypt. I think one thing about Egypt that people don't realize is how hard it was for people that were migrating up there.
Yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Oh yeah, I think Egyptian are quite territorial people. They hate outsiders, and yeah, for especially us, because we couldn't blend in, or obviously it was our color skin, so we were the easy target out. So they made it a living hell, like for us, and it's probably one of the first time you started questioning a sense of belonging into society as a whole. But then you kind of understood as well. You know, that's their home. You know, that's their country. So either like you throw in a towel and complain about it, or you just do what you need to do to get by until your next opportunity opens up, and then move on. So early picked it up. I'm like, nah, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, try to do my best to blend in, but also accepting the fact that I'm gonna be pointed out at any situation given, and I'm gonna be used as a scapegoat. You know, for a guy that had a rough day, they're gonna look for somebody else to, you know, to put it on.
For sure.
And I might be the unlucky guy
Yeah.
that to cop it. But I need to wear it because I just need. Because if I go and try to fight it, then guess what? Now the system won't defend me.
Yeah.
Because clearly, if the system can defend me, then this behavior wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What are some of the things you saw or witnessed or heard about Egypt that people that are not from there or have gone through there would even accept the fact that that's true?
I always say there's 95% of people were great. They were welcoming.
So 95% of people?
95%. They were welcoming, very friendly, easy to talk to. Except the other 5% is probably the hostile, very hostile one. But then again, that's just what it is. But like I always tell people, like yeah, I don't know, I can't put it in a word. Obviously, I'm trying to articulate the experience that I've gone through, and yeah, it's like compare, like you have to go there yourself, and you have to. I guess what I'm saying that you have to be in my shoes, or somebody else's shoes to see it for yourself.
100%. I was very young when I left, and I thought, because my mom did a great job of making sure we were safe, making sure that we were protected. So it kind of just felt like it was the greatest time ever. But obviously, as I got older and sat down with people like you who were there for much longer, and they were there at an older age, I kind of learned a little bit more about how hard it was.
And that's why it's so important. Like it comes back down again. Even your parents did an amazing job.
For sure.
And imagine they were copying it out on the street.
Yeah.
They were getting it, but if they were reacted, then the consequence would have been so much severe.
Yeah.
And which if the parent will grow up without it. I mean, you guys would have grown up without it.
100%. And that's been the case for a lot of people.
That's the sacrifice they did, and worked out really well.
Yeah, and that's been the case for a lot of people as well.
That's absolutely.
Oh yeah, we'll end it on a good note. What was the most positive thing out of Egypt for you?
Food was good.
What food do you remember? I remember eating a lot of falafel.
I like full.
And full.
Full was good, really good.
What is full for people
I think,
hang on, what's full for people that might not know what full is?
Jesus, I don't know. Mike, you're putting me on the spot. I think it's beans, boil, and then once you boil it, you drain the water out, and then you sort of like grind it up, and then you add in your herbs, and then you add in your fresh vegetable, I guess, with a little bit of olive oil. Goes really well.
Yeah.
And a nice piece of bread.
Boiled
eggs. Yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of positive from Egypt, to be honest.
For sure.
Don't get
That's
me
good
wrong.
to hear.
But like even the language, I think is something positive as well. Now I'm able to speak Egyptian Arabic, Sudanese Arabic, and so on. So that's something positive as well that came out of that. So
that's good.
But most importantly, I think they gave my family an opportunity to be able to make our journey a lot shorter. If we were in South Sudan or Sudan, our journey to Australia would have been a lot higher, different. But we needed to stop by Egypt in order to go on to the next journey.
I love that. And then you came to Australia. How was that experience? How was that experience jumping on a plane? And then coming into a country where there was buildings, glass, white people.
So we went to Australia Embassy in Cairo to apply, and we got accepted. And I remember we were quite very lucky because a lot of family were like, it was just you and your luck. So you put in application, and there was like, I think Finland, America, Canada, England, and Australia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember my uncle pointing at a kangaroo and said, "This is where you're heading," in Melbourne. And I was stoked, and then that came with terrifying stories of because I've never, we never took a plane before.
Yeah.
Flew with a plane, and so February 17, 2005, arrived at Melbourne Airport. I've never seen so many lights. It was so bright. I'm like, I mean, like, I don't know what they say about heaven is. And so I remember, but it was so cold as well at the same time, like really, really cold. But I was like, okay, this is something new. I arrived at night, and then the next day I woke up and I was like, I felt like I'm okay, cool. This is gonna be good. It's gonna
love
be a
that.
good journey.
What was your earliest memory of Australia? For many people that came
Yeah.
from South Sudan, for us, for me specifically, it was eating Vegemite, getting it confused with chocolate, and putting way
I
too
didn't
much.
get to Vegemite. I hate
I
Vegemite.
did. And a lot of people had that
Yeah.
experience. That was one of my earliest memory. Another early memory was, watching TV, watching cartoons.
Yeah. Space Tune.
I just watching like Aussie TV, like
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I remember watching Thomas the Tank Engine for the first time, loving it. But that was like my early experience of Australia, eating Vegemite and hating it instantly. Eating Wheat Pix for the first. I loved Wheat Pix, but watching a bunch of cartoons and just loved it. That was my first experience of Australia. What was your earliest?
My
memory?
first one was probably the second day. Well, not second day. I think after 1 week when we settled down. Then obviously now you have to obviously integrate into society. We're like, okay, cool, gotta go register you guys to school. gotta get taken to school. And not
old
trying
were
to
you?
throw my uncle under the bus.
How old were you when you
So
got here?
I was just shy off of my 14th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, actually my 15th birthday. So I'm 22
high
now.
school. That would have been your 7th?
Yeah, so anyway, they asked mom all the documents, whatnot. Went into Sudan Primary School. Registered my sibling, 2 of them. Yeah, good. And then my uncle thought that I can register as well. And the principal looked at it and goes, no. And so I'm like, now I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, like how he would have felt so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like for the guy that had been here for a long, long time. But again, that's probably one of my first times I felt like I said, but then I felt like I was rejected by the system as well. Because back home, our school system was all like in one big school,
100%.
like
Yeah.
we didn't have division like they have it here. And so then I went to, got back home, and then the next day we went to St. Secondary School. And was probably from year 7 all the way through to year 12. I didn't know, mind you, by then I could not even speak English, could not even say hi, could not even say whatever, like no word in English at all. They want to register me, they signed me up. For some reason, the school accepted me. I was put in year 8. Could not say a word, could not even speak a word, could not even say g'day, could not even say none of this.
All right. We're getting too into this. We're going to go for another quick break, but we'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. I'm your host, Paul Mayan. This is the C Network. I'm here with Majok, if you've just joined. We're going to quickly talk about what schooling was like before we get into your occupation. So,
Absolutely.
I want to talk about how was school like at that age. We'll quickly get through that, and then we'll
I was put in a school, obviously secondary school, year 8. Didn't know English. For some reason, I don't know what gave them the confidence to be able to back me in. But then they come to realize later, 3 months into my, could not speak English, I was sent to Wales, Western English Language School in Sunshine. Did my 3 month, but at the time it was more because we had a high turnover of refugee coming into Australia 2005. So if you didn't learn the basic, if you could write my names in journal for yesterday I went to the beach and I saw, a well. If you can read it comfortably in front to your mates, take your bag, buddy.
Yeah.
Off you go. And then I was dumped back into to the mainstream. Yeah. So it was good.
I love that. Let's get into what you're now doing, because I really, the people I get on here is for them to talk about what they've been doing in the community, the impact they've been doing. And we met through work. We met at Western Bulldogs. I was filming a documentary for them there.
Yeah,
and then we met while you were doing the program there. Let's talk about the work you've been doing with the community and how you got involved with that and how that's been going.
Yeah, well, I'm such a I wear, my energy is always out there. And I remember before I finished year 12, one of my teachers come to me and mate, I want you to do youth work. And I'm like, oh, seriously? Nah, you're really good with people. And you can lead people. And I'm like, okay. And then a couple of months later, once I graduated, I found myself doing a youth work diploma. Then a year, I just spend my time volunteering my time with different organizations in Wyndham area. And then my AFL journey began in exactly 2000 and probably I would have said 2011 or 12. I was a part of this wonderful Team Africa organization that ran by North Melbourne Football Club. And playing footy there. And MCG, I just got up and I've, spoken, and I was just making my way down a fella, which is a guy that I, got the respect him, have most up respect to him. A white fella, Xavier Malone, approached me and goes, mate, I want you to apply for a role that's coming up. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, no, dude. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. 3 weeks into it, this guy's ringing me nonstop. Mate, I want you to do it. I'm like, yeah, I will. I'm like, I just I didn't believe that, opportunity like that could present itself, Anyway, I gave in. I'm like, nah, okay, cool, let's go, let's catch up. So I end up catching up with him and my current boss right now, Mark Penaluna at McDonald's. Gave me the proposal, like, okay, here we go. We want to make you the multicultural development officer at Waterbury VFL. Signed it there, never looked back, and now which is, spent a couple of years there and then moved to AFL Vic, and this year I've got, was given with the opportunity again to reconnect with the club, and I've come back on board as a community development manager there. So
I love that.
Yeah,
How
really
important is it that you're involved in AFL and kind of inviting other people from diverse cultures to want to be a part of it and to feel included? How's that been for you? Amazing.
Well, I think I think, let's face it, Australia's population in general are growing every day. So I feel like I'm just warming up the seat for the next person, especially the next African or next Sudanese person to come and take that seat. My job is to create a solid blueprint as possible. And by doing that, it's, how to do that, obviously sharing the brand of the game, because this game can, either if you can play it really well, then there's a place for you to play it. And if you want to become a coach, there's also a place for you. If you want to do community work, there's also a place for you. So it's about making sure, reinforcing these positive, messages, people always assume that AFL is just about playing. Yes, you can play it, but then there's a lot of avenue that you can also be a part of in this great game.
I love that. I'm going to ask you a tough question.
Sure.
You're going to have to answer it.
Sure.
Who is your favorite African player in the AFL now?
Yeah.
And who do you know that is going to make it in the AFL? Maybe soon, maybe in the year to come?
I've already got a couple of young players, Sudanese that are actually
perfect. Well, that's the first question. Who's your favorite player, African player in AFL at the moment?
At the AFL at the moment, CJ.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, because I had a lot to do with CJ.
Sick.
Obviously with my work at the time at the AFL. Also, I like Buku as well. But then also when you look as a game in whole, you can't go past Aliyah. You got to respect
100%.
him. You got to give him his props.
You have to look in the camera and tell them that in case he's watching.
Yeah, yeah. Make sure, mate. Follow me back. I think you did. Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. And before we get to that one, actually, who is an upcoming African player that you've got your eye on that we should be looking out for?
If you have asked me this question about probably 10 years ago, I would have easily identified one particular.
But now it's
Now it's so many. There's so many. Like, the game have grown so much, and there's a lot of people in our community, especially our young fellas, have embraced this game, and they're actually doing a phenomenal job with it. So at this point, I can't even pinpoint one particular individual.
Yeah.
But all I know is that our numbers will grow in the next 10 years' time.
That's
We'll have
amazing.
more handful of players, playing the sport.
I love that. One more question. The show is called The Seed Network because I believe everyone's here to plant something. What do you think you are here to plant? And what impact you want to leave in the world?
I think I've always said, any day that you wake up it's a good day, It's a day that you should be grateful. My seed is, I want to leave a blueprint beyond mine, beyond my expectation. But most importantly, I live my life every day as an educator,
100%.
Any chance I get put in a position to be able to help someone and better somebody's life, I'll do that. I would never walk away without, taking that opportunity. So, I'm 32. I know I'm getting old, but I feel
you look
like
very young. You look like a teenager. What's going on here?
Mom did a good job. I think the seed is within us that every day when you wake up, show some gratitude and make sure that every day you run past someone, be grateful.
Perfect. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you so much for joining us once again. If you made it this far, thank you so much. And it was an incredible story. Thank you, Majok, for sharing it. And I hope you guys learned something. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care, guys.